Good evening. I'm Shay Battalato, and thank you for tuning in to Pittsburgh's Evening News. Tonight, we have a special program. Today marked the anniversary of the death of Andy Warhol, who died February 22, 1987. The documentary you're about to see represents a timeline of the fascinating life of Andy Warhol and the people he encountered. Andy Warhol. The years of 1928 to 1949 consisted of Warhol's childhood with his family life and personal interests. These years were also the start of Warhol's particular attraction to design. Andy Warhol was the son of Andrew and Julia Warhol. He was born on August 6, 1928 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and grew up in the Oakland area of the city where he spent 20 of his 58 years of life. The Warhol family, similar to many, was poor. When Andy was about 9 years old, his mother gave him a camera, which was a real treat. He grew to love taking photographs. He also loved the short cartoon films that were sold inexpensively to the public. His mother secretly bought him an amateur projector so that he could watch them at home. As a child, Warhol developed an obsession with Hollywood. He loved the glamorous stars that he would see in the movies. He kept a scrapbook of movie star photos. His admiration for the actors was later reflected in his artwork. The years 1950 to 1959 marked the beginning of Warhol's life as an adult. Andy Warhol moved to New York City in 1949 after graduating with a degree in graphic arts from the Carnegie Institute of Technology in Pittsburgh. He was a struggling artist in the big city. In the fall of 1949, he began working for Glamour magazine, where he illustrated for a series of essays titled "What is Success?" Warhol found success as a commercial artist, and Andy Warhol Enterprises Incorporated was established. His clientele began to consist of companies like Tiffany & Company. To mark the success of his own career, Warhol planned a 2-month trip in the summer of 1956 to travel around the world. Warhol became an established figure throughout the world in places like Europe and Asia. Warhol did ads for Japanese companies like the following.
Aka, Midori, Ao, Gunjoiro, Kyodei, Imagineを刺激するカラーハイパー。
The years 1960 to 1969 were the prime years for Warhol. The events of the 1960s made for spectacular art projects, events like the election of John F. Kennedy and the popularity of the Beatles. These years were the time for early pop art, where Warhol created artwork like 200 Campbell's soup cans. He used mass-produced merchandise to create artwork. He also used celebrity icons like Marilyn Monroe and Judy Garland.
Andy, do you feel that the public has insulted your art?
No.
Why not?
Well, I hadn't thought about it.
It doesn't bother you at all then?
No.
Well, do you think that they've shown a lack of appreciation for what pop art means?
No.
Andy, do you think that pop art has sort of reached the point where it's becoming repetitious now?
Yes.
Do you think it should break away from being pop art?
No.
Are you just going to carry on?
Yes.
An important figure in Andy Warhol's life was Edie Sedgwick. She was known for being one of Andy Warhol's superstars. She made herself comfortable at the factory, which was Andy Warhol's studio where artists could hang out and be part of the film production process. Warhol once said that Edie was one person during the 60s that fascinated him more than anybody else he had ever known. He said he experienced a certain kind of love when he was around her.
I was a friend of Andy's in the mid-1960s. From about 1965 to 1966. He even called me the queen of the factory. I really think it's because of Andy that I was a star. When I started going around with Andy, they thought that I had a press agent, but I didn't. After a while, I was sort of paranoid about all the publicity, and I stayed in my apartment for 2 months, and I cut off the phones, and then I eventually felt ready again. I wanted to do more acting. I like it, but it's hard. The long hours, getting the lines right. I didn't really have that with Andy.
On June 3rd, 1968, Valerie Solanas shot Andy Warhol. Solanas claimed that Warhol was attempting to steal a script that she produced. Warhol was pronounced dead at Columbia's hospital, but after 5 hours of surgery to Warhol's lungs, esophagus, spleen, liver, and stomach, he survived. On June 9, 1969, Solanas was sentenced to 3 years in prison. In 1996, the movie titled I Shot Andy Warhol was based on the shooting of Andy Warhol that took place in 1968. The following is a trailer of the film.
Andy Warhol was there. He's a very famous artist.
Yeah, I know who he is.
If anyone can make you a star, Andy can.
So, Andy, are you going to produce my play? I mean, you really ought to do it now. It's going to cost you a lot more when I'm famous.
Eminently entertaining and provocative.
The factory is a lot like the old MGM star system. Our kids are actually very similar to the Walt Disney kids. Except, of course, they take drugs and have sex.
Captures the essence of that funky Warhol world.
What makes you think Andy Warhol, the greatest living artist of our time, wants to publish the ravings of a lunatic?
When he comes back, you tell him I'm going to kill him.
Lily Taylor gives a funny, furiously alive performance.
I won't take that to him! You think I can?
As riveting as its title.
Valerie, no, don't, Valerie, no!
I Shot Andy Warhol.
The police are looking for me and want me. I shot Andy Warhol. Yeah, I had to. Yeah, he had too much control over my life.
1970 to 1979 was the period in which Warhol established himself as a publisher. He created Interview magazine, where he focused on glamour, fashion, and wealth. Interview magazine developed a positive image among the famous. The magazine consisted of celebrity interviews and covered events of celebrities, like birthday parties. What separated the magazine from others was the fact that it was mainly visual. At times, it consisted of full-page images. 1980 to 1987 marked the end of Andy Warhol's life. During a fashion show on February 17, 1987, Warhol complained of abdominal pain and left early. On February 22, 1987, Warhol suffered cardiac arrest. Andy Warhol died at the age of 58. Warhol was buried near his parents in a Pittsburgh cemetery. Family, friends, and colleagues were in shock over his death.
Andy and I were the best of friends up until his death. I found this letter that I wrote to him while he was in the hospital after he got shot. Darling Andy, I was horribly upset to hear how you were severely injured. I'm saying prayers for you. Don't know how much good they'll do, but at least you know I care, and care tremendously. You are one of the few people who really matter to me, and I can't bear the thought of anything bad happening to you. I hope this letter finds you well on the way to recovery, and with it, I send you all my love. Bundles of hugs and kisses, Edie.
I think Andy would be a better president than Nixon.
I sure would.
He's going to be running for office.
Would you accept a political position if you were drafted, Mr. Warhol?
Well, first thing I would do is I'd put carpets in the streets. Money for everybody.